You may also want to check my video about installing the bobbin capturing the thread. So first we need to make sure the presser foot is lifted, which will release the tension in the discs so we can pass the thread. So at the top of the machine, we need to pass the thread from underneath this metal piece. So it's right underneath it, and then just pull towards the front and it's going to get into this hole. So it goes underneath this piece and just pull towards the front, or you can insert it from the side as well. We are going to get to the tension discs. In theory, we need to place the thread against this piece here and just slide it until it gets inside. Actually, you have 3 pressure discs in there. There is not 2 but 3, because we can put 3 needles. This is one of them here out, 2 and 3. It doesn't matter in between which it goes, but it must go in between 2 of them. So keep tension above and just get it inside the discs. Make sure it's inside the disc, pass it underneath, and we are going just to pull on the thread so it goes inside this groove, this rounded groove, and it's also going to push on this spring at the same time. But again, you need to keep it from moving at the top, keep it steady. So we just go like this, pull upwards, and all of a sudden it goes in there. It passes this notch here. Then you can just get the thread like this and you insert it into this bracket, and next is going to get into the eye here. This one you need to insert it from the sides. Free it from there. So at this moment it goes like this. It's behind this bracket here. It goes in between the plates, all around the same plates. It's going to pass. If you pull on it, it's going to be in between the plates, underneath this small spring, in between this bracket, in between the eye. And now we are going to navigate. We are going to insert it in between this bracket here. Oops, let me just watch closely. Put tension on it. It goes inside there. Then it goes, there is a bracket here, which you need to go from like this. It goes in there. Then there is another bracket here. It's like a small, always keep tension on it. It's like a small, I don't know, bracket. And then again, one more last bracket is this small notch here. You need to kind of get it from the side. Okay, let me just put down the camera. One hand, it's impossible. Let's have it. You really just slide it from the sides. It has an opening here. You just slide it from the side. Whew. Okay, at this point, 2 things. First, the needle. The position of the needle, we know there is a flat face at the top of the needle. Just careful with your fingers. This flat face, we are going to rotate it. Just have the camera focus perhaps. No, it won't focus. But this flat face, we'll rotate it towards the rear of the machine. The flat face, it's here against my finger. Towards me, there is the round face. That's how we insert it in there. Okay, so flat against, towards the rear of the machine. The place to insert the needle, it's actually very small in there. It is sort of a hole, and I'm using a mirror here, but it's difficult to aim at it. And we need to obviously unscrew this fully so it frees that hole. When this is kind of unscrewed several times, then the hole is free. Then you can slide the needle, and you should slide it all the way up. Again, make sure the flat face, this face, it's towards the rear completely, not at an angle, but really just completely towards the rear, just like you would put this face if you want against like this. The flat face, it's against, completely against the machine, no rotation to either side. And you need to aim at that tiny hole in there. I already have a needle here. Aim at that tiny hole, and with this screw unscrewed quite a lot, just insert it all the way up until it's all the way at the top, and just snug, tighten this knob just snug. And if you want to check the position of the needle, make sure this is at the center position, which should relate to the needle being right at the center here. Lift the presser foot, and you should see the needle tip is aligned with this cut in the presser foot. This should tell you the needle is in the correct position. Always turn the handwheel by hand. Do a few stitches by hand. Don't spin the machine, so as if the needle is not correctly inserted, so you don't break, you don't damage anything in there. And now the last part of this is that the thread must be inserted from front towards the rear. So if you have one of these thread catching things, which I already did insert before the video, it's actually inserted from rear to front. I'm going to just insert a bit of thread and try to see it past the camera. It's hard for me to see this thing. So I just insert a tiny bit of thread, maybe 1 or 2 inches into this thread catching thing, and then I'm going to pull it towards the rear of the machine. Now I toss this thing and I pull the thread, and this is important, otherwise it's not going to work. Notice how the thread goes from there to the top here, and it goes towards the rear of the machine. I think you could see it fairly well. This is the correct position. I'm looking sideways here. And now to start sewing, I'm just going to get the thread. And this is important. Another thing, sometimes you can just by mistake handle the thread and it kind of gets around the tip of the needle here. It makes like a loop. This is wrong. It's not going to work. You make sure the thread comes from behind the needle, and then just pass the thread in between, in the center of the presser foot, right there into that cut. Not sure if you did see it properly. So right there, I'm pulling it towards the rear of the machine. The camera is not focusing at the needle actually. So the thread will go just like this, underneath the presser foot, in between. The thread goes like this, in between there, underneath, and towards the rear of the machine. This is the upper thread. And again, you make sure there is no loop around the needle. Very important. Thread comes towards the rear of the needle, and the bottom thread, the one from the bobbin, will, after you catch it, will show up towards through this hole here, in between, underneath actually the presser foot. This is the bobbin thread. Both threads just go towards the rear of the machine, just like that, as much as you can tell. Try not to get them on the teeth of the dog food or the dog feed, and just pass the fabric you are going to sew. Make sure there's no hanging threads, because this will just mangle with the other threads. So just press them, slide them from front to rear, and when you are in the correct position, whoops, advance it some more. just lower the presser foot and do a few stitches by hand. Hand well rotates this way. So the top of the handwell comes towards you, or you may call this counterclockwise. So just look at the action here. Now my threads are both white on white fabric. You won't see much, my camera doesn't focus properly, but this is the stitching, and it's better to do a few turns by hand before starting to sew. And now one last tip. When we finish doing the stitches that we need, it's very important on these vintage machines, always bring the needle at the top position by hand. The machine will stop maybe somewhere like this. We need to continue to rotate the hand well a full turn, the correct rotation counterclockwise, until the tip of the needle reaches the top position. This is about basically until it starts lowering again a little bit, but keep it at the top position. This is important for the beginnings. I'm talking here. Why? Because we have two threads here, one from the needle and one underneath from the bobbin. And when you want to remove the fabric, you are actually going to pull on both threads, the one from the needle and the one from the bobbin. The one from the bobbin, actually the thread from the bobbin will be locked on the bobbin, and you cannot pull on it unless the needle tip goes at the highest position, unless it's arriving here manually, not by the machine. So let's just do another stitch. I do a full stitch, and with my hand I'm going to bring the tip of the needle at the top, and just listen. When the tip of the needle arrives at the top, you will hear a click underneath, and that is the very moment when the thread gets unstuck from the bobbin. Not detached, but unstuck. So let's just listen again. When the needle is rising at the top position, listen to the sound of the bobbin underneath. Did you see that make like a small click? That's where the thread it's unlocked from the bobbin. So only at this moment, let me just show you in a different way. So I'm doing a full stitch, needle comes out of the fabric a little bit, it's almost to the top, and let's say I try to remove the fabric from there to pull on the threads. It doesn't work. I cannot do it because the thread it's locked on the bobbin. Now let's bring the needle at the highest position. Listen at this moment. It wasn't that loud. So right now the needle is at the highest position. I leave the presser foot and see what happens. No problem pulling on the thread. So I can pull the thread from the bobbin as well. It's unlocked. This is important to remember. You will get used to it. But just remember this tip because not everybody is showing this in their videos. Thanks for watching.